veterano, old family first, fam. Taught the world to swing that double-edged sword, it works, fam. BJJ from GJJ, like Cool Herc gave birth to what your DJ plays. But despite the lineage, I will never be closed-minded. Refuse to see beyond the lines, you go blind. Rock a travel.
Escaping from the bottom, okay? Escaping from the bottom, escaping from the cross side. Basically, it all depends on how the person on top is holding you, what escape you're going to use. So if Scotty's laying down, okay. So I have two arms, right? There's only a certain amount of places that I can put my arms to be able to hold my opponent, right? So normally, what happens is two arms. I can either have both arms on this side, I can have both arms on this side, I can have one arm here, or one arm here, one arm here. Right? Those are the four general hand positionings. Okay, so depending on how I'm holding him, that's going to dictate his escape. However I hold, there's always going to be an easy way out. There's always a way out. Okay, so the first escape we're going to play with is very, very common holding position. Not so common here. I don't really teach this holding position, but it's common at a lot of other schools, a lot of other places. And so the holding position is like this. It's what we call like a head and arm. So the guy's usually controlling arm underneath the head, holding here. This other arm is underneath the armpit. And usually what happens is the guy will have his knees in tight. Okay. So you don't hold me like that. I'll try. So normally, if I'm on the bottom of the cross side, okay, anytime I'm on the bottom, I usually always want to have my arm underneath his armpit. So if I have my arm underneath his armpit, this already makes my escape 10 times easier. Okay, so if we start like this, boom, I'll be out in 2 seconds. Okay, it's very difficult for him to hold me with my arm with the underhook. But normally what happens is the guy will control underneath his arm, okay, which makes it a lot harder. But there's still an easy way out. Okay, so if I have my arm stuck on the outside, the first thing I want to do is I don't want to leave it dangling here in front of his face, right? He can easily reach over, grab my wrist, and start to set up an Americana. So if my arm is on the outside, I want to put it down his back, okay? Now this arm, first thing I always want to do is I always want to get my elbow inside, okay? If it's not inside, so a lot of times bring your knee up, Scotty. So a lot of times the guy will try to get this elbow to the outside, okay? So from here, what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to move my shoulder. I'm going to move to the side here and pull my elbow. So even if he's holding tight, right, what I do is I just try to stretch this arm down his back. So this arm is going to help me, right? I stretch this arm down his back, and I move my hip to the side just to get my elbow in, okay? So now we're going to start. So now that my hand's in the right position, now I'm going to start my escape. So keep your knees tight, Scotty. So yes, hold tight, hold tight. So the guy's smashing your face. A lot of times guys will try to grind your face and smash your face and make you uncomfortable here, right? So the first thing I want to do is I want to relieve this pressure on my face. So very easy. I'm just going to use this hand here, and I'm just going to stretch against his face. So I'm not trying to push him off me. All I'm doing is I'm engaging. Put your shoulder on my face. Good. Smash my face. So from here he's making me uncomfortable. Now he's uncomfortable, right? So I'm just engaging my arm. Right? Can you smash my face anymore? No. Okay. So now I'm comfortable. My elbow is going to be in here. So I got my arm inside, my elbow's in his hip. Now what happens, look. So my knee here is going to be like a feeler. Okay? I always want to have my knee up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move my hip out, and the second that I move my hip out, what I'm doing is I'm creating a little bit of space. So if you guys look over here, come over here and look. There's a big giant hole for my knee to fit in, okay? But I never want to come here. Bring this knee close to my hip. So wait, I see guys trying to put the person in the guard. They're always here, banging into this leg, okay? There's no space here. There's nowhere for this leg to go here. So all the space is by the hip, okay? There's a big giant hole here by his hip. So that's where my knee is going to come in. But right now I don't have the space. So what I need to do is I need to create the space. Okay, so I'm going to bring my foot to the outside. Now look, I move my hip away, and now my knee goes inside. So worst case scenario, he's smashing me, right? So my arm's down his back. I already got my elbow inside. Okay, I'm using this arm on his hip to kind of keep him away. So a lot of times I'll bring this knee inside because he doesn't want me to put him in the guard. So my knee is already like a feeler, right? There's no space, but watch. As soon as I move my hip, now there's space. So now my knee is going to come inside. And when I bring my knee inside, I want to bring it in as far as possible. Okay, so my knee is popping out to the other side. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start to move my hip. So my hip starts to move so that I can pull my leg out. So my hip will go from this side all the way to the other side so that my leg is free. Okay? So one more time. So I always start off worst case scenario, because if you can do a worst case scenario, then you can do a best case scenario, right? So he's smashing my face. First thing I'm going to do is arm here. Start to make myself comfortable just by stretching my arm against his face. Now my elbow's inside. So this arm already bothering you, huh?
Yeah.
Doesn't feel good, huh? So see my knee? There's no space for my hip to come in, right? So now look, move it, and my knee comes in. So once my knee goes in, now what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to start to move my hip. So I don't try to really stretch my leg, because especially if the guy's strong and holding tight, I can't really stretch away. It takes a lot of power, right? I'm just going to move my hip. Put him back in the guard. All right? So what you guys have to understand from this hand positioning, what happens is this arm is blocking my face from going in, and it's impossible, it's very difficult for me to move my hips out. But there's nothing to stop my head from going this way, right? There's no arm stopping my head from going this way, no heads. And the hips are free. I can go in. So once I get here, well, right, knee inside, my hip, so that the leg comes through. All right, let's go.
Whole family first, fam. Taught the world to swing that double-edged sword. It works, fam. BJJ from GJJ, like Cool Herc gave birth to which a DJ plays. But despite the lineage, I will never.